Today, it's exactly 150 years ago that the first Impressionist exposition was held in Paris. It was called the Première Exposition de la Société Anonyme des Artistes Peintres, Sculpteurs, Graffeurs, etc. And it would be the first of 8 expositions, and the last one was held in '86. Many sources on Impressionism state that Leroy, in his negative and cynical review, gave the name Impressionists to this group. But it was more Castagnari, in his relative positive review, who did so explicitly and also explicitly referring to this painting of Claude Monet, Impression Soleil Levant. Many sources will tell you there were 165 works exhibited, but that was the amount of catalogue numbers. When you look carefully, you will see that there were much more works exhibited. Like Claude Monet, he showed 12 artworks and not 9. I even think there were about 225 artworks exhibited. Well, these 8 expositions, they were independent of the Salon. This was a large yearly exhibition in Paris. And many sources on Impressionism will tell you that the Impressionists were mostly rejected for the Salon, and they were opposed to the Salon. But this is just partly true. Many sources on Impressionism also will render many pictures of Edouard Manet, but he never joined the Impressionist expositions. And he mostly painted in his studio, and he used subdued colors, many browns, blacks, and grays hues. So not very impressionistic. Most sources on Impressionism will just show you some famous oil paintings of well-known artists like Pissarro, Cézanne, Monet, Degas. But in fact, in '74, there were 31 partakers. And one was not in the catalogue. So you see, there are just a few well-known partakers, but who were all those others? 16 of them would join more often at the Impressionist expositions. But 15, almost half, would only join in '74. When we look more closely to these famous oil paintings, they were not done in a full Impressionist painting style. This work of Pissarro shows long bluish shades due to the morning sun, and that is impressionistic. But he also used subdued colors and many brownish hues. That is not impressionistic. Claude Monet maybe showed this picture of the Boulevard des Capucines. He made it from the balcony of the Nada studio, where the exposition was held in '74. And he beautifully shows this swirling crowd in the street. He also depicts the effect of sunlight, which is impressionistic, but the shades are very grayish. And he also uses many blacks and browns. Alfred Sisley probably showed this work, And he beautifully shows the effect of light on the clouds. But he also uses subdued colors and grayish, brownish hues. Paul Cézanne showed this work in 74. He painted it outdoors, which is impressionistic, but he also used subdued colors and many browns, so more pre-impressionistic. Auguste Renoir showed in 74 7 pictures, mostly figure paintings, and he also showed this work, La Loge, an everyday life scene of the upper class. And this is typical for Impressionism, but also for realism. And he uses many blacks. And the white he depicts is not a kaleidoscope of colors, as you will see in full Impressionistic paintings. Berthe Morisot showed this beautiful cradle depicting her sister Edma and her niece Blanche, a very intimate scene, a fleeting moment which is impressionistic, but she also uses subdued colors and the paint is quite thin. Therefore, it doesn't vibrate very much. Edgar Degas never wanted to be called an impressionist. He mostly painted in his studios, used many browns, many blacks, so not impressionistic. Kals showed this old fisherman. It was not a mythological, biblical, religious, or historical figure. He just showed an ordinary fisherman in his everyday surroundings. And this is typical for realism and for impressionism. But the many browns makes it more a realist painting. And maybe this painting of Guillaumin was the most impressionistic work exhibited. Look at those bright, vibrant colors and the slightly unnatural greens in the sky. But he uses brown shades instead of purple shades. That still doesn't make it a mature impressionistic painting. Well, this painting is mostly dated 1873, but there is a corresponding drawing which is dated 69. So I think it's more likely that also the painting was painted around 69. And most sources will suggest that this painting was exhibited as number 66, so like Couchant à Ivry, which is also the title which is now used. And it was alone this number of Dr. Cachet. And this painting was in the former collection of Dr. Cachet. So a good suggestion, you would say. Well, this number 66 is not described in the reviews, but number 64 is explicitly described by de Montifaux, and it is called Le Soir. And the description fits this painting. So I assume it was exhibited as number 64, Le Soir. And I assume that number 66 was the painting I show on the left, which was also in the former collection of Dr. Cachet. And here the sun stands a bit higher, and to the left the sun has set, so it's more an evening view. Well, we have seen that this exposition was called the Première Exposition de la Société Anonyme des Artistes Peintres, Sculpteurs, Graffeurs, etc. So there were not only painters, but also engravers. and in total there were 38 engravings exhibited, which is 17% of the whole. And Felix Bracquemond showed most of them, 32, and others were Le Pic, Autain, and Rouard, who showed some engravings. Felix Bracquemond in total showed 33 artworks, including one drawing, and many of the etchings were copies of paintings, and some of them he had shown before at a salon, like this portrait of Erasmus, which is made after a painting of Holbein. This work was shown before at the Salon of 55, and Felix Bracquemond would again exhibit in 79 and 80, but afterwards he would show again at the Salon and at the Exposition Universelle of 1900, he received a Grand Prix de Gravure. Well, as said, he showed most of the artworks, 33, but they were in just 6 catalogue numbers. And many etchings were rendered within one frame, a bit like this. Number 24 was a frame depicting 12 portraits. So you can count it as one artwork exhibited. I count it as 12 artworks exhibited. Le Pic showed this etch of a dog. In total, he showed 3 etchings, also 4 watercolors. He again would exhibit in 76, and there he was a sort of guest of honor, showing about 49 artworks. Le Pic also showed often at the Salon many landscapes, many made at the Normandy coast, in Berck, but also in Italy and Holland. This name of the Société Anonyme ends with an etc. Etc. maybe refers mainly to Alfred Meyer, who showed 5 animal artworks. He also showed 1 drawing, and he's so forgotten that I could only find 1 drawing. That's this one, but it depicts something else. So I just render it to compare of the drawing he showed in 74. But Alfred Meyer was active in the Société Anonyme. The year after 75, he started another independent exposition, l'Union, and he would also often exhibit at the Salon, mainly animal art objects, and many of them have neoclassical themes. One of the works he showed in 74 was after a work of Émile Lévy, who was his teacher. It's called Le Firmament, and probably it's after the painting on the right, which is an oil painting on plaster of a plaster ceiling. And the work on the left is of Alfred Meyer, an enamel painting, and it looks a bit the same. So the combination of these 2 pictures give you some impression of the work he showed in 74. There also were sculptors. Better, there was just 1 sculptor, Auguste Autain, and he showed 10 sculptures in 74, and most of them were reduced copies he showed earlier at the Salon. And note that many have mythological themes. He also was active in the Société Anonyme He also would show often at the salon and even received medals. And Autain also showed a buste of Ingres. Ingres is the head of neoclassicism, and Felix Bracquemond depicted two etchings made after paintings of Ingres. So Ingres was honored with three artworks, something you would not expect at an impressionist exposition. The son of Auguste Autain, Léon Autain, also would show works in 74-7, various themes. It included also one lithograph and a theater curtain. In 76, he again joined, he made many aquarelles, many depicting Paris and Montmartre, like this painting I show. He often would exhibit at the Salon, and he also would show many stained glass art objects. In 74, there were 8 partakers that showed in total 33 watercolors, which is about 15% of the whole. Berthe Morisot showed 3. In total, she would show 10 artworks. And she would be the most central female partaker. And this is one of the watercolors she showed. Zachary Astruc showed at least 10 watercolors. In total, he showed 14 artworks. Some works were made in Flanders, in Belgium. He only would show in 74. For the rest, he would show at the Salon, and he also will be known of the many sculptures he made. And beside that, he was also an art critic and an art collector and a friend of Edouard Manet. Edouard Brandon showed at a salon of 1870 15 watercolors, and they were called Souvenirs d'Italie. And in 74, he also showed watercolors, aquarelle, but it's not sure how many. So at least 2, and I assume 6, but maybe it were 15, like in 1870. And maybe this was one of the works he showed in 1870 and 74. In total, he would show 10 artworks. And he also depicted Jewish religious life, which is more realism. And he also depicted a Catholic saint, which is more neoclassicism. In 74, there were 5 partakers who showed in total 18 pastels. Boudin was one of them, showing 6 pastels, maybe including this study of a sky, but that's very uncertain. In total, Boudin would show 13 artworks. He would often exhibit at the Salon. He also received medals, and he was the teacher of Monet and stimulated him to paint outdoors. This work maybe was shown at the Impressionist exposition in 74, but maybe at a Salon a few weeks later. Claude Monet also showed 7 pastel studies, and it's a pity in sources on Impressionism you will find no suggestion at all. This is partly logical because they are not reviewed, so it is not possible to identify them, but I render on my website 7 uncertain suggestions. In 74 there were 5 partakers showing 9 drawings, and Edgar Degas maybe showed 4 according to the catalogue. In total he showed 10 artworks, but the identification of 8 of them is disputed. Maybe he showed this drawing, and Degas will become one of the most important partakers of the impressionist expositions, and that when he wants to be called a realist. Pissarro, Degas, Renoir, and Monet were the most active in the preparations and the organization of this first impressionist exposition. And it was organized by this Société Anonyme. And in this Société Anonyme, there were more artists active. To the left, you see 6 more well-known artists. And to the right, you will find 9 lesser-known artists. And including number 8 and 9, 2 artists that didn't join the first Impressionist exposition. I now want to show, to give some attention to the 4 artists I depict in yellow. And the first one is Henri Rouard. Henri Rouard joined 7 of the 8 Impressionist expositions. In total, he showed 104 artworks, mostly landscapes. He was a close friend of Degas and also an art collector and a rich industrialist. So a very important partaker. But he hardly dated his works. They were hardly described in the reviews, so it's very hard to indicate which works he showed. Well, in 74 he showed in total 11 artworks. 6 were oil paintings, 3 watercolors, 2 etchings, mostly landscapes. And this is an uncertain suggestion of a painting he might have shown in 74. Edouard Béliard showed in 74 4 paintings. As said, he was active in the preparations. In 1860, he joined the Atelier Suisse, where he met Pissarro. He again would show works in 76, and he depicted many roads, many river banks, and many in the surroundings of Pontoise. So he also was part of the so-called School of Pontoise. From 78 till his death, he would become political active. In 74, he showed a road in Pontoise, the road where Pissarro lived. And to compare, I rendered this painting of him. There are not many paintings known of Béliard, and this is probably a copy of the Jonkind, which depicts a road in Paris. Pierre-Isidore Bureau showed in 74 4 landscapes. He also was involved in the Société Anonyme. He depicted many roads, many moonlights, and many in the surroundings of Isla Adam, which is uh, a bit north of Auvers-sur-Oise and Pontoise. He also would join in 76, and later that year he would die. And there are just about 10 pictures known of him. This work he had shown in 67 at the Salon and again in 74. Auguste de Molin also was active in the Société Anonyme. He would join only in 74, where he showed 4 oil paintings, mainly hunting scenes. Maybe this was one of them. And he joined the Salon on an irregular basis. He also made some anthropological travels. He was a small art collector. And 1880 onwards, he became a drawing teacher in Lausanne, Switzerland, where he was born. As said, there were 15 artists who only joined in 74, and I now want to give some attention to the artists depicted in yellow. The first one is Gustave Collin. He showed this work in 68 at the Salon and again in 74 at the first impressionist exposition, where he showed 5 paintings. Well, he would often show at the Salon and also at the exposition universelle. He received several medals. He mainly was a landscapist, and many scenes were from the Basque region in France and in Spain. Stanislas Lepine probably showed this work in 74. In total, he would show 3 landscapes. He also would often exhibit at the Salon and at the Exposition Universelle of 89. He received a gold medal. And he mainly was a landscapist and made many river scenes. Giuseppe de Nites showed in 74 7 paintings and 3 depicted Italian landscapes and probably about 3 studies of a woman. He was born in Italy. He also would show at the Salon, also would receive medals. And he was one of the co-organizers of the Exposition Internationale de Peinture et Sculpture at the art dealer gallery of Georges Petit. Ferdinand Attendu, he showed in 74 at least 7 artworks, including 4 watercolors and 4 still lifes. Maybe this was one of them, and he will be most known for his still life and mainly his kitchen still lifes. He also would often exhibit at the Salon. Well, there were 31 partakers, and 6 of them are almost vanished. And there are hardly pictures known of these partakers. The first one, Le Ver, he joined the Impressionist expositions 4 times. He died in 82. He was mainly a landscapist, and he was befriended with Rouard and Degas. In 74, he showed uh, a painting of the riverbanks of the Lesson, and to compare, I wonder, a drawing of a riverbank. He also showed probably a watermill at Touviot, and what is known of him is a drawing of a watermill, which I give on the left. And to the right, I wonder a painting, this time of Van Gogh, of a watermill, but made in Holland. And when you combine these two pictures, you have some impression of this work Lefebvre showed in 74. Louis Debras showed 4 pictures, and for 3 of them, I wonder other works just to compare, also of other artists. He also showed 1 still life, and this is a very, very uncertain suggestion. Debras only would join in 74. He would exhibit often at the Salon, and he would render various themes and also in various styles. Louis Latouche showed this work at the Salon of 69. It was called Sous Bois, and in 74 he also showed a work called Sous Bois. But the review of Sylvester makes makes it clear that it was not this work that was exhibited. So I can only render it to compare. Louis Latouche only joined in 74. On an irregular basis, he would exhibit at the Salon. He mainly made landscapes, many sea views. He also had an art shop, and he was a small art dealer and also a small art collector. And there are less than 10 pictures known of him. Émilien Mulot du Rivage showed in 74 2 paintings, 2 landscapes, and he would only join in 74. He showed some works at the Salon, more at regional exhibitions. He mainly was a landscapist and depicting many river views. In 74, he showed a work that depicted leaded boats, and to compare, I wonder, this work made in Le Havre. Leopold Robert, also called Léon Paul Joseph Robert, he's quite finished. His last name is very common, and in 74 he showed watercolors within 1 frame, so at least 2, but maybe more. And he also showed a work that depicted young girls in the hay with flowers. And to compare, I wonder another painting of another artist depicting young girls with flowers sitting in a field, not in a hay. Well, he also would show works at the Salon. And the last one, Comtesse de Luchère. She was not in the catalogue, but there is a review of the Montifaux who makes it clear she showed a work called Lieutenant de Lanchier. And she makes a description that fits a bit this painting of another artist. So I render this to compare. But in the review, she also mentions it was done with a background of a landscape. So you must combine these two pictures, and then you have some impression of the work Comtesse de Luchière showed in 74. Well, on my website, impressionism.nl, you will find all sorts of information on the 8 Impressionist expositions. You will find a page on the first Impressionist exposition with general information and a representative range of pictures. You will also find a page with an overview of the artworks exhibited. When you click on it, you can create a slideshow. And now I render about 82% of suggestions for the works that were exhibited. You will also find a page with an overview of the partakers, and you will find links to main pages with information and pictures on these partakers, and suggestions for the pictures they showed in 74, and an account for the choices I made. You will also find a page with an overview of the techniques or the media that were used. You will find a page with a catalogue of the first Impressionist exposition with more detailed information. And on my website, you will find more than 400 pages and more than 5,500 pictures. And it is still growing. So have a look and enjoy.